Welcome to Mindfulness Alchemy for the Modern Soul. I'm Esther Vidic, and today I'm joined by Alisha, also known as the Naughty Naturopath Mum. Alisha, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule today and being my partner for this recording. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no worries. Thanks for having me.
And so let's begin. And let's start with, please, tell us a little bit about yourself as a naturopath and also about your vision and your business and the wonderful products that you're making. Who are they for? And what do they do and how do they work?
Right. Okay. So, the first part of the question was a bit about me and my business. I'm Alisha. My name kind of sums my business up and where it's come from, Naughty Naturopath Mum. So yes, I am a naturopath. I'm nearly 25 years a naturopath and I've been a mum for 15 years now. I have 2 kids. I left clinical practice before having kids and started making flower essences while the kids were babies. And it's turned into this business that I now do full time. So I never went back to clinical practice because I've been able to help and reach a lot more people with selling them online. And what flower essences are vibrational remedies similar to homeopathy, but as in that they don't contain any physical chemicals. They are completely vibrational remedies. And they help shift emotions and energy in the body to affect thoughts and behaviors. So I primarily made them for me while I was going through pregnancy and then having babies and then for my young kids. So I sell to mums and their kids because I kept coming up with formulas that were helping me and my kids and my growing family. So we've stayed with that audience and we get to help a lot of households with a lot of things that they may not have had come across before unless they'd perhaps seen a naturopath, because flower essences aren't as well known as, say, herbs and nutritional help. But if you'd seen a naturopath, you may have come across flower essences, or hopefully if you've seen them in the health food stores and come across them through word of mouth.
Well, your flower essences, the wildflower essences that you make,
Yes.
I've been a fan for a couple of years now, and it's definitely helping my children. Also helped me so much on the daily, like it's in my toolkit, let's say, because I can reach for them, and they really do work like magic. That's all I can say. They're really wonderful. And I have a fun story that I would like to just insert here. Regards to the tantrum tamer. That's the name of the product. I've got the duo pack for my children. Two things. We've been using your essences for so long that my children developed what I call the drop reflex. I get the bottle and they put themselves in position ready to receive the drops. Which is very sweet. But here comes the story. My children have a grandma who lives overseas. She came to Australia to visit and wanted to organize something where we can make memories. I went like, well, that's great. Now, we are a neurospicy household. So you know that noise, sound, change in the wind, whatever happens can upset anyone. So we went to a lovely place and I put the tantrum tamer, the drops, in my bag. I mean, like, just in case, let's bring it. So get out of the car, in the car park, getting ready. And I said to my children, come gather around, let's take the drops. And so grandma comes and was like, oh, what is this? What are you guys taking? I went like, oh, this is the tantrum tamer to make sure that we are all safe. And she goes like, oh, can I have some? So I had 2 children and a grandma lined up receiving the little drops.
Yeah, but that's so gorgeous.
no one had a meltdown and everyone enjoyed the outing. So here we go.
Fantastic. Yay.
It really
Yeah, so
helped.
that's gorgeous story. And yes, Tantrum Tamer is for adults as well. So I'm glad that it helped grandma too, because what Tantrum Tamer does is just help process emotions subtly as they occur, rather than let them all build up for that end of the day or middle of the day explosion. So handy for all ages, because we all need help with processing our emotions, I believe, no matter what age we are.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that takes us to our next topic after introducing yourself and we know a little bit more. And that would be, let's talk daily life. Let's talk the daily grind. And I wanted to ask your opinion on just what are the challenges that us busy moms are facing on the daily, and just what can we do, in your opinion, as a naturopath and as a busy mom? What can we do to stay mentally and emotionally well under this immense pressure?
Yeah, and it's a big topic, isn't it? And it's why I did form, the channels I use for mums every day are my Instagram, Facebook, and my blog, because as much as we come into wanting to help our kids feel better and behave better on some occasions, it's really up to, mums feeling their best for the kids to be doing okay. If mum's not okay, kids aren't okay, which is often why I try and really direct the flower essences towards mums, but they often want to purchase them for their kids first, which is understandable. It's much easier to sort of open our wallets for our kids than it is for ourselves. But if we're taking care of our nervous system and regulating our nervous system, that has that flow-on effect with the kids. So I do encourage mums being on their own special blends, or also using their kids and themselves taking the same blend, which really amplifies that vibration. But products aside, or our emotional toolkit of things that we have, because there are many in our life, isn't there? Not just flower essences. We can be using all sorts of emotional help, but keeping mums okay through the day is a very difficult, big topic, because there is a lot going on with how we were parented, generational trauma coming into things, and saying yes to a lot, not having proper boundaries set up, and really having ourselves stretched thin and, often to the point of breaking point. So to keep ourselves, physically and emotionally healthy, to be a good parent, but also to have a good life, it's about being as selfish as possible in a good way. I like that word selfish to not contain negative connotations, but selfish in that we're thinking about ourselves and what can we do for ourselves in this day. So just always making sure you're doing at least one thing for yourself, whether that's your daily exercise routine, or a walking the dog around the block, or having a phone call and a cup of tea away from everyone with a friend at some point. There's a million things we can do. It doesn't have to be going out and getting a massage or having a long bubble bath, because sometimes we just can't fit all that into our day. But if we're not putting into our calendars at least one thing that is serving just us, then we're really setting ourselves up for failure, because that is it's not sustainable. I really want to get rid of the super mum myth, because being super mum leads to emotional burnout and breakdown. I want to introduce sustainable mum, the mum that can get through the days every day. And that is just inserting small things daily. So the one thing you can do for yourself is a non-negotiable and is in the calendar. And getting to sleep, early, instead of scrolling on our phone or staying up watching that next episode. Because without sleep, we know everything just turns to shit. And with kids that are young, it can be very hard to get, to bed when we want or to sleep through. So it's just grabbing as much quality sleep as we can. So if there's that opportunity to go to bed earlier, then, choosing that. And just having boundaries, saying no to the things that we know are going to draw too much of our energy. Just being aware that we're an energetic being, we're an energy being that only has a certain amount in us. So that battery, learning where your battery is going to be running at 0 and when it can be topped up. And look, because everyone's battery is going to look different, but learning where your points are and saying no to the things that are going to drain that battery too far for you to cope. So that could be healthy boundaries with parents or parents-in-law or friends, work colleagues, just knowing, this is going to take too much out of me and I still need to parent. I'll handle that another day, or actually I don't have to handle that at all, and not feeling bad for it, because we keep coming back to, the good selfish. What can I do to be okay every day? And I think alongside using all those tools that we've got, whether it be flower essences or doing daily meditations or, making sure we move our body and eating well, just keeping all those emotional platforms in place, those energy conserving platforms, which is just keeping ourselves emotionally guarded, protected.
I agree with everything you just said. It's like I couldn't have said it better. Absolutely. The whole thing is that, first of all, we can't pour from an empty cup, and we have to understand that.
Yes. Yeah.
And also self-regulation is really, really important. And in a minute, we will talk about emotions and, taking care of ourselves and processing those emotions through. Life is busy, and that leads to us to my next question, to the next topic, which was really about looking after ourselves. And you touched on it a little bit, but let's go into it a little more. In your opinion and experience, what are the negative impacts of this? We are constantly on, our devices are constantly on. There's so much technology. We are nonstop overstimulated. We are not regulating. We are not sleeping enough. So what are the impacts of this on us, and how serious it is for us to start looking after this aspect of our life?
Yeah, it is. It should be taken more seriously than it is at the moment, because we are very much in this day and age where, like, this experiment of, I don't know if you know the analogy of the frog in boiling water. I'll explain that for anyone who doesn't know. So if you put a frog in water that's already boiling, they're going to jump straight out, because that is danger, ouch, I'm going to die. If you put a frog in lukewarm water and it's very pleasant, they're going to stay there. And if you just keep turning the heat up slowly, very slowly, and so they can keep getting used to the next temperature and the next temperature, by the time they're at boiling point, they don't move, because that's their normal, and that will be the death of them. So I liken that to what's happening now, is we're getting so used to being at a certain level of chronic stress that it's putting our bodies into all states of inflammation and autoimmune disease and mental health issues, complete adrenal exhaustion and nervous system breakdown. And we didn't even know we were getting there, because we are just trying to keep up little by little with everything that's getting thrown at us. And yes, unfortunately now, with the amount of information that comes at us through all the mediums we use now, social media, and, we have the news in our pockets. We have podcasts telling us what we should and shouldn't be doing. It's gone are the days where you would just hear a bit of parenting advice from family or your neighbours. We're now getting that from all around the world, from millions of people. And all of this information is leading to a lot of overwhelm, and that overwhelm is often the catalyst for full-on anxiety in a lot of people that aren't registering the fact that it is anxiety. They're just getting used to the fact that they're, very reactive to things, that they have to fit more and more into their day to get everything done that they think they should be doing. This is back where the super mum myth comes into things instead of sustainable mum. We just have all this stuff going on, and we're just slowly getting boiled alive like the frog. So that is quite dangerous, and that is quite serious, because chronic stress is, with all these health issues coming from that, it might not be put down to that. It might be someone going, oh, look, this has come up, so I'm going to the doctor for this, and then this has come up, so I've got a specialist for this, and, things are getting treated separately instead of the core issue, which is, completely overloaded with too much going on and really high stress hormones floating through the body at all times. As we know, stress is important. Our stress hormones are important. They're helping us get out of a situation or danger. And that's why we have them, to be able to act quickly on something, which, once upon a time was to get out of the way of that tiger or, the fire or something. But now with those stress hormones being on at that level all the time, we're not realizing that we're drawing on parts of the body that were never supposed to be drawn upon, and depleting vitamins and minerals, and because we're running on a circuit that wasn't supposed to be sustaining us, basically. We're not supposed to run on adrenaline and cortisol. We're supposed to run on all our other systems, and those hormones are supposed to be just turned off very briefly for certain more quick-acting emergency responses. So, I think the level of seriousness should be probably a bit higher than it is, because people are just getting used to all these stress conditions and feeling like they're failing because they're not feeling physically well enough to keep up with things, because they're not able to slow down, which is exactly what they need to do. And, that opens up another very big question of how do I do all this? And that's going to look different for every single mum and every single family, because a lot of mums just have so much on their plate and they don't know who to hand it off to if they were to slow down. So it's a big thing to look at and work on, which is why I think a lot of mums choose not to, because once you start looking at it and picking it apart, it can be a bit confronting and scary. So they just keep going forward, to the detriment of themselves and their kids, because, it's not sustainable. It's really worth doing the hard work of looking at what can be offloaded, what you can say no to, and how you can slow down.
Absolutely. Once again, I agree with everything, honestly, what you just said. And as a spiritual life coach, I do it. I have my routine. I'm very big on a very regimented morning routine for me, which includes my affirmations and my mindfulness of body and breath. And it allows me to read through my goals. And I also schedule in personally 15 minutes of reading every morning. And that's before I touch my phone. That's before I'm available to anybody and anything. I schedule myself a little bit earlier so I can wake up and have that time, because it's worth it. I'm parenting 2 teenagers on the spectrum. And we have to remember, and I'm also a woman of a certain age. I entered perimenopause, which is a blessing because I'm aging. The alternative would be that I'm already dead, But I keep saying, and what I often hear from women is that I do not have the time. And that's when I say that, honey, we don't have the time. No one has the time. We have to make the time, because if I don't make the time now to regulate and to care for myself, I won't be able to look after my children. I won't be able to maintain healthy human relationships, friendships, which are dear to me. And in general, I will be a really grumpy person. And at the end of the day, I will have the TV on. I will have like my phone in my hand and I'll be scrolling because I'm unable now to process things through. It's building up and I'm scared because if it's quiet, I need to turn in, and all this nastiness that's been building up gonna catch up to me. So I totally agree. And I love the strategies that you were saying, because all of those apply. And as you said, the important thing is that small, sustainable action steps, and on the daily, if possible, but at least several times a week, please, because it's really important for me. And I'm shamelessly promoting Naughty Naturopath products here one more, because if I could just pick one product, my favorite's been the past, let's say 2 years or a good year. When I do work on myself and when I'm really going, okay, I'm going to self-care and I give myself what I need, a little bit of peace and quiet. Self-love, the pack, the drops and the spray. I love the spray so much I could bathe in it. But anyway,
it's one of my favorite.
One of my favorites, absolutely. It's so beautiful. But what it does is that a very subtle way of helping me anchor in that frequency that I am okay, I'm doing enough, I am loved, I deserve this, and I need this couple of minutes for me, because that's how I'm going to replenish that battery. And so I love everything that you said, and I really hope that my listeners and the people who listen to this recording that we are doing, that there's even just one little thing that they can take away from this, is that we are the frog, and let's not let that hot water kill us. And
exactly.
That just brings us to our next thing, which is also a massive topic, I know. But because of what you do and what you specialize in and what you're so knowledgeable about, right? Emotions, the vibration, the frequency. And so we're going to talk about big emotions now. And I'm talking particularly about processing through fear. We all feel fear. That's normal to a certain extent. Shame and guilt. Because we know that on the emotional spiral, those are the lowest vibrational frequencies we can engage with. So what I'm asking is your opinion and your take on it, is that how are we processing these things through, and why is it so important to name these emotions and process them through?
Yes, and that's exactly right. The lower frequency emotions are the ones that we need to process even more, obviously, because it's the lower vibrations that get stuck in our energy body, which can transmute to physical issues, which is why we need to work on our emotional health and our vibrational health all the time, because we want things to keep flowing. Our body is a conductor of energy made up of energy. So without flow, without things moving, things getting stuck and not moving or not being in flow is obviously going to short circuit the machine. So we need to be in a state of flow. But what happens with these big feelings that we don't want to feel and that we don't want to address, we go into that freeze mode of flight or fight or freeze. And the freeze mode is like, I actually don't want to deal with this, so I'm going to pretend it's not there. And that's a way of not processing something, and we all do it. We all do it. Like, I do it on the daily still. I wasn't brought up to feel the awful emotions and let them sit and process till they can move through. None of us, I mean, I can say 99.9% of us were not brought up to allow these feelings to be at the surface and felt and seen. They were things that we needed to, stop. And that because they are uncomfortable. So it's very human of us to not lean into discomfort. We would prefer to reach for the wine or scroll on our phone or reach for the chocolate or online shop or just distract ourselves from that feeling. Again, very human, we're all going to do it. Me saying it me being aware of it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. But I'm glad I am aware of it because it's something I will always keep working on because these are the most important emotions to feel and process. Sorry, I've just hit there we go, back on center. So what I suggest and how I work through it is to come at it with curiosity, because anything that triggers the big feeling, we know when it happens because our chest might tighten or our throat might constrict. Butterflies in our stomach. We'll have a physical sensation when that big lower vibration emotion hits us. So pausing, so the power of the pause always, whether it's pausing before we react or pausing before we ignore these sensations and distract ourselves and go into something else, to pause and really feel, okay, where's this coming from? And that's when we have to use curiosity as our tool here, because it's like a way of tricking ourselves into looking at it. Coming at it with curiosity instead of, oh, right, what do I have to feel now? No, let's be curious. Let's use the curiosity to lean into this icky feeling. Where do I feel it in my body? What happened for that to spark? If you're aware of those things, can I now name that, oh, I feel real guilt because I didn't give enough attention to my kids on the weekend? Okay, so where's that feeling? Where's that sitting? What is it out of 10? And then just sort of be with it for a bit. Just sort of sit there for a bit. Even if you practice doing it for a couple of seconds and build up to being with that feeling for 30 seconds one day, that's all going to help that emotion move, that energy move through the body. And that's why I do love the flower essences so much, because it is just that extra help with that, because we're adding that vibration to help our vibration match what we're adding to the body. So that creates movement in that energy. So it's like a cheat's way of going, okay, let's keep this moving through. And then we might, really feel it stronger, and then it's gone, because everything passes. Energy is a state of flow that will always be changing. So just by feeling that guilt or that shame or that fear doesn't mean like it's going to stay. It will move it through faster because we've allowed ourselves to feel it. That's just how it works. It's science to have it recognized, come up and out. So that's my biggest tip for those harder feelings to feel, is leaning into with curiosity, and then also being quite proud of yourself when you acknowledge and give yourself credit if you've been able to do that, because you're not going to be able to do that every time, but if you get to even 3 times out of 10 sitting with something uncomfortable, you're just flexing a muscle that's going to get better and better with more use. Just like whether you're training a bicep to get stronger, or you're training a neural pathway to think more positively instead of negatively. Every time you give yourself the power to pause and feel and see if you can process it a bit, writing down is the most powerful way of processing any emotion. I don't think there's anything that will top that. Actually writing down, not notes in a phone, but pen and paper, because what's actually happening here is the brain and finger are actually doing an incredible job. There's a link between what our hand is doing and our brain registering what is getting written down for it to really leave and be processed. So actually physically writing anything that comes up for you is like a 10 out of 10 process of feeling your emotions. So anytime you want to go journal, because we can't be, processing emotions all day long, can we? We wouldn't get anything else done. But, in your times of taking some flower essences before journaling just will help that flow of energy get more stuff out that's been stored during the day or from last week or last month or last year. Because things are going to get stored, but the more we work on this, the freer that energy flows going, the less that you're storing, which means there's a lot less reactivity, because you haven't compounded emotion on top of emotion on top of emotion. And that's why things like Tantrum Tamer help with kids, because they've got a very free bank of emotions, because they've been here a lot shorter than us and they've stored a lot less. So their reactions are really based on things in the moment, and sometimes from things, in their immediate past. But using flower essences to really keep things flowing, they're going to have a lot less build up later later in life compared to ourselves. We've got a lot more work to do this generation than our kids do, because a lot wasn't recognized. So we're parenting ourselves while we're parenting our kids. So we're doing double the work. And that's felt, and that's another thing that adds to our overwhelm and anxiety, because we're learning while leading. And that's hard. So constantly acknowledging whenever you do something that that was good for me, just being really proud of yourself, because you need the gold star as much as your kids do.
You do. And relating back to what you just said with the journaling, it's very interesting. We were talking about a somatic way of looking at how we process emotions through in our body, right?
Yeah.
And what I found, because I'm an EFT master practitioner, the flower essences, because it works on the energetics, and EFT works with the meridians, which is also our energetic system. Yeah. It's a wonderful tool. So that's another good way to process things through.
Fantastic. Yeah. People who know how to do that, that's a wonderful tool.
That's a wonderful tool. And the journaling, I highly recommend mindfulness journaling, and especially in the evening as part of like an evening routine, when we are getting ready to settle down. And what I would like to add here is that let's take away this, I don't know, it's like a myth about it, that it's all like candles and I have to get ready for it and I have to take so much time to do it. You can if you wish. I love an incense. I love you know what I mean? A beautiful candle. I love a cup of tea. But having a journal ready and being aware of it, that my triggers are my responsibility. It doesn't mean that if the other person was nasty to me and it triggered me, that makes the other person's behavior okay. No, it doesn't. But I need to be stronger where I'm weak. Triggers show us where we are weak. And also to realize that it is awfully scary until we start doing it. And there's a saying, I often say that once you name your demons, they no longer have power over you. And that's what shame and guilt and fear is. Really, it's keeping us in a lower vibrational state, which is technically hell. That's experiencing hell in our own bodies. So I absolutely love the ideas and the techniques and the experience you have around that. And I think it's very useful. And once again, I hope that whoever's listening, that they can take away a little bit from that it's not scary. We owe that to ourselves. And as you said, the other thing is that, yes, we are parenting ourselves and we are healing from the trauma we got in childhood, because our parents, and let's not blame them. Okay. We are grown-ups. We are responsible for it, but they did not have the emotional container to help us hold those emotions and validate us, because often they were busy and not as conscious and they doing their own thing. And then when you had the big emotions, we might have been just an annoyance, just another thing. Is it right? No, it is not. wouldn't have been perfect and ideal if our parents could have been there and like, let's process it through. Tell me how you're feeling. Where do you feel it in your body? You know, but they didn't. But now we can. And also we have all these beautiful tools, and there's a massive, like, it's not one size fits all, as we know, but there are things that can help almost anybody with so many things. So I really love that.
Yeah, and I think I want to just interject with it wasn't time for that kind of energetic work in our, you know, one generation back, and still getting there with our generation and our parenting. You know, I think everything happens as it should as far as the universe and the time we're in. As soon as that information is there, plus the tools are there, that's when we're ready for it. So we can't turn around and blame our parents for being exactly how they were supposed to be to parent us at the time, because this is our job now and will be our kids' job, because they will hopefully get better than us, and they'll have stuff that, you know, they think, oh, do I blame mum for this? No, because it wasn't supposed to happen at that time. We're all moving on the same timeline. That's what we all have in common. So when we see things happening collectively, that's the way it's supposed to have been for our journey this time round. And that is my personal belief. But I do believe, you know, energetic shifts happen with each generation. So we're just delving into that as well. That's why there can't be blame going backwards.
I absolutely, once again, you said something that I also absolutely agree with. And that's a funny thing. I heard my father's partner talking about the younger generation. Let's call them, you know, like our Gen Z and Gen Alpha coming through. Yeah. And I personally have wonderful experiences with them, and I adore them, and I learn a lot from them. But I have that, you know, the capacity, and I'm interested. And basically she was saying that, oh, I don't think they're doing well. I don't think they're capable. I don't think they, you know, like they're going to be able to achieve things in life. They're not disciplined enough. And I just said to her is that I do believe that every generation comes with a set of tools that collectively they need to solve those problems. Because life now is very different, and life will be very different for Generation Alpha, who are our early teens now. So I absolutely want to have faith in humanity and in the divine order of things, let's say, that we have what it takes. And the job we are doing, our generation is doing, what you're doing, the service you're doing with what you specialize in, the service I'm doing, and so many other people, it's vital because we are helping the coming generations pave the way, and they will succeed. I want to believe that that our children will succeed, whatever life throws at them. So I definitely agree.
Yeah, because there can be a lot of negative thoughts looking forward, because we weren't brought up on screens and we didn't have this amount of information bombarding our brains on the daily, or the comparison that we can do now with, you know, people in our community or people all the way across the world, because we can look into everyone's lives now with social media. So we have no idea how that's going to shape the brains coming up. So of course that can be, the unknown is very triggering. It's uncomfortable because we worry that, oh, what's this going to do? And you see all these comments of, and look how many neurodiverse people there are now, like what is happening? And it's like, but this is the energetic wave coming through. I think it's always been there, but the awareness keeps evolving. And so when we start feeling sort of fear about how our kids are going to grow up, given what they've been brought up with now, we can remember that, well, I'm sure all these generations beforehand had the same sort of scary thoughts when the TV was invented, when video games were first invented in the early 80s, you know, there were things like, what is this going to do to us? And because I go down that fear spiral often, you know, that my kids are on screen so much now, they're 14 and 15, and that doesn't sit comfortably with me still. And I still have to work And it comes down to that trust and faith that all this wouldn't be occurring, and all these tools and practitioners and books and information that are helping us with these different brains now that are really coming through. It's all occurring for a reason, and we have to, of course, we still have to parent it and have boundaries around it, but I don't think we should be as negative and fearful as some are, because we've been through this many times, and this is just the next level of it all. And I love that saying for anyone with neurodiverse kids out there, or that are neurodiverse themselves, like myself and my kids. We're a full neurospicy family here. And it's like, well, how are there so many diagnoses now? Like, is it just being overdiagnosed and always having this saying up your sleeve? Well, it's kind of like how when the telescope was invented, how many more stars in the sky there were. It's just we have the ability to test and see and recognize what's always been there, and we can support it better.
I absolutely agree. I believe there's two sides to it with the neurospiciness, which I also have. My children are too, and and I have my own challenge. I have my own challenges. I have a really wicked case of OCD, which unfortunately some of it is trauma based, which I've been working on. But like working on yourself is a process, and you have to approach it with love and gentleness and acceptance. But with our neurodivergent friends and children and even ourselves and whatnot, is that one side of it, I believe in the theory that as we are souls, we are incarnating in, and we are evolving. That's part of the collective evolution. These children or neurodivergent people generally more sensitive, and we know that there's been an investigation into it. There was the telepathy tapes, and many people went like crazy about that. Do I believe that it's happening? Absolutely. Does every autistic children have this advanced telepathy? Probably not. But also another big issue is the environmental factor. That if we have more sensitive beings incarnating into a way more polluted and heavy density environment, then it will also manifest. And that's nothing new. That's not even woo-woo. That's not even new age. We know that we have the triangle where this body, mind, and spirit, and that affects each other. And it also, so what I feel is that, and the reason why I love what you do, because if we can start working on eliminating as much as of these negative things in our lives or in our children's life that we can, it doesn't mean that we want to wrap them, koromvul them. We don't want to koromvul them, because we want to help them function in this reality. They came here for a reason. But we know there's a lot of stuff. And working on the finer things, the energetic things, that at least we help them with the emotions. We are emotionally available because we look after ourselves. So we also learn to be emotionally available towards ourselves. And I think that these things all add up. And I think this is the work we need to get done. And that I believe that's mainly why we are here for. And I don't know if you remember that in the maybe mid-90s, there came out a book, and I think it was Doreen Virtue who talked about the indigo children and then the rainbow children. Now, we can use whatever terminology we want, but there's definitely a visible shift in consciousness as we are moving forward. And I think we are really here to nurture that. And that relates back to what you just said about really start looking after yourselves, mums, and dads as well, obviously, because we have jobs to do. So let's make sure that we are well. That takes us to because we are approaching soon the top of the hour, which I'm very grateful for. So the last topic for today's conversation is, let's talk mindfulness and daily habits and motivation and goals and dreams that we dare to dream. And because I think you are a very inspirational woman in what you do and how you do it. And I follow you on Instagram as well. By the way, I will leave the links in the show notes so people can find you. It's very inspirational. So the last big question for you, here it comes. What tips or tricks would you have for women, for our fellow women who want to build something, who want to do something, who's already dreaming, who's already building? And what would you say to someone who, you know, we fall and we stumble along the way? How can we stay on the path? What would you say? What's your take on that?
Yeah. Well, my opinion of this does change. I think when I was younger, I was very much into manifesting what I want in life, through all the means that I knew back then, which was, you know, vision boards, believing as though it has already been done, and just the goals being very clear and outlined in front of you. And look, I still believe that that's a help, but I think in my older years, I've realized that everything can only be born from the space in us for us to be ready. We have to create space for new things to drop in. So if we're currently building something sorry, I'm just going to take a sip of my smoothie.
Sure.
Too much talking. If we're currently building something or growing something and it's sort of plateauing or stagnating, it means that we're at capacity with what we're handling right now, emotionally and energetically. So creating space for that to move forward or get bigger, I think it goes beyond manifesting. It's about doing a lot of work to create space. And by that, I mean inner space, which is working on yourself. So whether that be going to, I have found just so much space has been created since I've started regular psychology visits. So when I hit 40, I had a lot of stuff that I needed to work out. And so that was 8 years ago now for me. I'm 48. And in those 8 years, the amount I've been able to grow by going inwards and sorting out a lot of my past childhood stuff, working through traumas that I'd been through and getting clearer on what that meant, created so much internal space. And we don't even realize that that's happening. But, you know, what we do when we seek help from anyone or anywhere is to feel better or to understand ourselves better or to change behaviors that we're wanting to work on. But what it's also doing is clearing rooms inside us for new stuff to come in and drop in. So I've always likened owning your own business like I do to the biggest, strongest, the biggest, baddest self-help course you can ever do, because to keep growing anything material or tangible, all the work needs to be done on yourself, because energetically speaking, you're the representation of anything you're trying to build or attract or grow. So with that in mind, that if you're the representation, you've got to keep watering your own garden by doing the work, the healing, the taking care of yourself, even when all you want to do is just focus on your kids and taking care of them. I think that's just our way of deflecting the harder work that needs to be done, which is, you know, it's very common for carers and healers and parents to treat everyone else but themselves, because that's like a protection. You know, we're like, if I'm too busy looking after here, I don't have to look after here. So turning that around on a 180 and looking after here will help the flow on of who you're looking after. So I know I'm repeating myself with this question, but that is my biggest tip for maintaining, growing, building any kind of daily or big term goal is, okay, so what can I do for myself to get here?
I love it. I love
it. It's very simplistic, but that's the most powerful thing. So that comes from those daily things. So whether it's the meditations, and look, I'm crap at meditating. I have ADHD and I cannot quieten my mind at all, but I'm really good at listening. So I just do guided meditations with my Calm app, and I do one morning and I do one evening. And they're like, the 10-minute one is called Daily Calm. I only do 10 minutes, but I don't get out of bed or open my eyes until I've done that. And then I go to sleep with a sleep meditation, and that's listening and entering a state of, so I'm setting up my intentions of a morning, and I'm setting up my intentions for my evening work that's going on in my subconscious, because we're working all night. So we want to really make sure that we've done our, what I call, energy hygiene. We can't just get up and throw ourselves into the day or throw ourselves into bed at night and sleep all night, doing the good work. Like anything, if you're doing things with great intention, the big stuff's going to come. So I can't be someone who is sending out hundreds of energy medicines around Australia every week without taking care of my energy, because it's a reflection of me, and it's how the business has grown, because I've put so much love, care and intent to my energy body, so that any extension of me, whether it's my kids or my business, has that full rich, because why do anything if we're not really doing it with care, love and intention? Like, it's not going to land the same. And that's what we have to remember for our goals too. If we don't set ourselves up properly energetically with these little rituals, and the journaling and the moving our body, because that's such a good energetic way to keep ourselves healthy, because physical movement is so fantastic for moving emotions, as we all know. Like, that's why people run or they do yoga. They're releasing this flow. They're keeping that flow moving. But anything we can do to look after ourselves, as well as really good intention behind what we're doing it, and working on ourselves constantly, because you're just this incredible vehicle that's transporting all this energy. So just looking after your vehicle every day is like the best thing you'll ever do. And you'll keep growing and getting to the next stage always, if this is front of mind and highest priority.
That's beautiful. What you said, so beautifully put. And you said it's simplistic. Yes, but often the answers are simple. We love overcomplicating things, and with the overcomplicating, we hurt ourselves. So that's one thing. Mm-hmm. Let's stop overcomplicating and let's really turn within. And of course, if we need, let's seek the help of other people who've been trained in that, who can hold the space for us, because the space inside, the unhealed things, like our inner child who was hurt, she's still there, or he is still there, and waiting to be loved and hugged and integrated back. So making the space, absolutely. And another thing that I think, because I am also building up what I do, I spent over 5 years of actively studying several, aspects of coaching and doing the EFT master practitioner and all that stuff. That let's give up this false sense that everything has to happen instantly, and let go of this fake, like a lot on social media, we see these people who are so unrealistic, and there's a massive team behind them. That's not one person doing it. And, there's a separate industry. Let's ground it. Let's bring it back to keeping it real, because it's often really an internal process. And then from there, incremental growth. And that's what we should be celebrating ourselves for doing the work.
Yeah, definitely. Because the people that you need to help you grow, they'll only come when you're ready for them. So if you're not going to, if you want it all now, that's just, unfortunately we get sold on things happening quickly because of the very unrealistic portrayals of people on social media. But it's all self-work. It all requires work. And those people, you've got to remember, if things look really good really quickly for someone, that's all going to fall down later. That's not there for the long run. What we're doing is building sustainable ways of growth, not super mum or superman or superwoman stuff, sustainable. So if it's not simple and it's not stuff we can do daily, how's that going to get you through, next year and the year after that? You're not going to put in work when it's complicated or big or requires lots. You have to focus on you as the pinnacle, and the branches are all going to grow, but not without that root system and that trunk really looked after. So I see a kinesiologist. I have an energy healer to help me with all the energy I have to put out in the world every day, and that's my maintenance. Like, that's non-negotiable. And for the childhood I've had, my psychology sessions are a non-negotiable, and not everyone has the time and the money to get to those things. But I wasn't able to do that at the beginning. But once I reached a level that that had to come in for me to keep going forward. And you'll just know those stages when you're at them. But if all we have is ourselves and our daily routines, watering the tree in any way that makes us feel good or increases our capacity to withstand the next curveball that's going to come at us.
Perfect. Beautifully said. We are at the top of the hour. Our time is up for today, unfortunately, but I loved our conversation, and I really hope that anyone who's listening to this recording, and I'm sure they will, that they find something beautiful and soulful in this to take away. I feel really blessed, and I thank you again, because it feels like that we just came together to share this packet of stuff that we wanted to share out of what I like to call joyful service. Is it like, hey, I am like you, I've been through it. I hope you can grab something from this to make your life beautiful, because you're worthy of a beautiful life. We all are. So I thank you so much. And I will leave all the links and information about you, about Naughty Naturopath Mum, the wildflower essences, in the show notes, so people can find you and follow you and benefit from your beautiful products. So thank you again for being here with me today.
Thank you. It was a lovely chatting about all the stuff I love. So very welcome. I was very glad to do it.